Good morning. It's great to see you all here. It's great to know you are all with us, those of you in the online pews. I want to thank you for coming because it's just not the same if each of you isn't here. We need each person. There's a lot we can do alone in our life to grow spiritually and to grow emotionally and to grow in courage, but we can only go so far. And especially when it comes to worship, we really need each other. We need to be together, we need to sing together, we need to be in silence together, to speak together, to pray together. All those things are benefited by the presence of each one of you. So thank you for that, for being here. This congregation is a congregation of memory and hope. And we remember today the Nahantec and Mohegan people as the traditional caretakers of the land upon which we are right now as we worship. And we honor and pay respect to the Nahantec and Mohegan ancestors and their lineage who today uphold the traditional practices of art and education. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. I joyfully call you to worship this morning, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing what is the perfect hymn for New Member Sunday. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Everyone. It is our custom here at All Souls to greet each other warmly each Sunday. Please remember that at this time we are still offering peace with our elbows, bumping elbows. Let's all turn and wave to the folks in the online pews. We're glad you're with us today. If you're here for the first time at our service, we invite you to raise your hand so we can acknowledge and welcome you. First time? Thank you. Welcome. Those in our online pews can say hello, and if you are with us for the first time online, we'd love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. This time we invite you to turn to each other to offer a greeting and message of peace with your heart, your eyes, your smiles, and your voices.
Good morning. It's actually a really exciting morning, right? New Member Sunday. And each week we light the chalice, the symbol of our faith. And this morning, because it's New Member Sunday, we have the grandchildren of two of our new members today who are signing the book to come up and light the chalice, Evan and Charlotte. And while they light the chalice, would you all please say the chalice lighting words with me? Today, we renew our commitment to this beloved community, joined by a shared mission, we covenant to create a welcoming, caring, justice-seeking community within and beyond these walls. May the practice of our progressive religious tradition shine as a beacon. And you're going to hear those words again later. Actually, they're part of our covenant.
As spring equinox approaches and the land in this part of the world is warmed and begins to come back to life, we light a candle of peace for our earth, our universal home. We light the candle aware that in many parts and places on earth, the earth is struggling for breath, for water, for healing. This candle represents our love for our earth, our gratitude, and our desire to speak for its well-being and healing. Lynn Tavermina is the chair of the new member, or the membership committee, and she's going to lead this wonderful part of our service.
Well, that's funny. Thank you, though. This is one of my favorite days at All Souls, I have to say. Anyway, over the past few months, as we held our new member classes, I've thought about covenant a lot, what covenant means, and the language that we use when we covenant with new members. A covenant is a promise we make to each other. When we think about covenant in our congregation, we ask, how do we live our Unitarian Universalist values, starting with one another? We ask, how do we choose to be in relationship with each other? The UUA describes a covenant as a mutual sacred promise between individuals or groups to stay in relationship, care about each other, and work together in good faith. Covenant joins us together and reflects the interconnectedness that exists between us. Our UU values and our covenant. Together, these are the core of our creedless faith. Our covenant strengthens our commitment to each other in an intentional way. It speaks of the promises we make to each other as a community of fellow travelers and the trust that we carry. Covenanting together is not only important for our new members, it's important for all of us because the covenant is between all of us. It is our way of walking together, creating beloved community. Covenant helps us to stay in right relationship with each other. And as UU theologian James Luther Adams put it, church is a place to practice what it means to be human. And as one of our newest members put it, it's where we and our children learn to be good humans. During this month, where our ministry theme is whimsy, deciding to become a member is anything but whimsical. There is a seeking and a discernment and a deliberateness that goes into this decision, and a seriousness to the commitment that each of our new members is making in joining our congregation. So it is with great delight that I get to introduce you to our newest members. Some may be familiar faces to you, and others will become familiar soon. First, there's a slide of Susan Zimmerman. Susan signed the book at Elder Journey in February because she couldn't be here today, and we gave her a really warm welcome then. I'm going to ask Karen Ethier Waring to step forward. Karen's going to light a candle of intention for each new member as you sign the book. And then I'm going to ask our new members to come stand in front of the Black Lives Matter banner. And if you have family members, you can bring them with you, because we want to see all that you are, your fullness. So please welcome our newest members, Steve Batt, Stephen Brown, Emily Jeffrey, Robin Lott, Shannon Mack, Cynthia Marion, John Pappas, Jonathan Richards, Kate Richards, Delicia Salsick, Ham Salsick, and Scott Shore. Perry's going to call each of you up individually for a brief introduction. Then you're going to come behind the chancel and sign the book, be welcomed by our board chair, walk back down the ramp, and Alex Clancy from the membership team will hand you a covenant. And when we're all done signing together, we will all covenant together.
So Ham and Delicia decided they didn't want to be first, so they went to the back of the line. So Steve, come on up. This is Steve Batt. And Steve was raised Southern Baptist. And actually we found that in this group we had a lot of people who grew up in the Baptist faith, which was really interesting. Steve, you might not know, but he was in a rock band at one point and moved from that to our choir, which is amazing. And we're really happy that Steve moved to this part of the country recently, and we're really happy to have him here. And while Steve's signing, I'm going to call over John and Cynthia. And family.
Come right to the pulpit.
So we're really happy to have this whole family here, including our chalice laters. And Cynthia and John have both been part of Unitarian Universalist congregations for a while now, and they have moved to be closer to this family and their daughter Ellen and grandchildren, and we're really happy to have them here. Let's see, and they have been very involved in Unitarian Universalist congregations, and so they're starting to figure out how they want to really be involved here as they sign the book. So we're happy to have you here. Thank you. All right, Shannon and Sierra, come on over. So we're really happy to have Shannon and Sierra here, our future president, right? Shannon identified herself as a recovering Catholic, right? Who actually has been in another Unitarian Universalist congregation before this, so she was seeking us when she eventually came back to Connecticut recently. And Shannon's already involved in faith formation as a teacher and remarked on how covenanting with the children really struck her as what this covenant is all about, that it's about relationship and bringing each other together in the right way. It's not about rules. Okay, Steve Brown and family. So growing up, And Steve, you sometimes may hear him referred to as David or Stephen, depending if it's his work life or here. We call him Stephen because we're more like family for him. And growing up, he actually kind of had his mother took him on his own neighboring faith journey, like we do where we go to different faith communities with the youth. And so he experienced a lot of different faith communities, and out of all of that, realized that this was the place. He also used to be a scientist, that's right, bringing together science and learning with the soulful aspects of All Souls. And Steve is already really involved with our youth, a couple of whom are sitting back there. And as a high school principal in an alternative model, we're really happy that he brings that to our youth group. So thank you, Steve. Thank you. Robin, come on up. So we're really happy to have Robin here and her thoughtful composure and and vibrant personality. And Robin actually was here long ago, right, when she was married to a Coast Guard sailor and has returned to the area. And Robin came to us because she actually went to a service at Pequot Chapel in New London and heard Carolyn give the service and sermon that day. And hearing Carolyn, as many of us can relate to, drew her to All Souls. And then once she was here, it's the community that has kept her in our fold and led to this day of actually signing the book. So we're glad to have you, Robin. All right, I'm going to call up the Richards family. So, good morning. Another Carolyn connection, because actually Jonathan and Kate first found out about All Souls because Carolyn married them. And they really didn't know anything about All Souls at that time. But after being married by Carolyn, discovered that this might also be a faith home for them. And they've actually, as some of you may know, they have been here for a while. And Jonathan, growing up, was very involved in his Christian religion of origin, where he let us know that he basically lived at the church. So it took some time for him to decide, did he really want to make that step into membership here? But we're really glad you've decided to do that. And Kate grew up at the Congregational Church in Old Lyme, and this was sort of a natural next step for her, and bringing Victoria and Bridget along here. You also may remember that Jonathan played Haman in our Purim play some time back, and it really takes that dry sense of humor to be able to pull that off. So we're looking forward to more of that. And Kate has been very involved in faith formation, teaching all different classes, and we're really happy to have your calm presence in faith formation. So thank you. And we're so glad to have you both too. Okay, Emily. So Emily is also new to All Souls, but not to Unitarian Universalism. She was very involved at her congregation in Massachusetts. And I remember when Emily first started coming, she immediately said, can I teach? How can I get involved and do things? And of course, we have our policy, you have to be here 6 months before you teach in the classroom. But nevertheless, we're really happy to have you help out with the Halloween party and other events like that. And I know that Emily is going to get more and more involved in all kinds of things at All Souls because she likes to be active in her congregation and is a doer, which we really, really appreciate. But in addition to a doer, I've noticed that you have a really nice presence at All Souls and with the children when you're with them. And so I really appreciate that, and we're so glad that you're signing the book today. Okay, Scott, come on up. And Scott is joined by Rosemary, his partner. So Scott was raised Jewish, and I believe actually bar mitzvahed, is that true? Yes, which we had that connection we discovered. And also has a martial arts practice and a meditation practice. So Scott has a very deep meditation and Buddhist practice, including having gone to a monastery and found his spirituality and community there. But we're so grateful that you decided to have community here as well, which is a different type of community for Scott. And coming out of the silence and into community for a bit, we're so glad that you've done that. And of course, Scott is part of the Sangha group in the mornings here. So we're so glad to have you sign the book today. Delicia and Ham. So Delicia has actually had, I would say, many religious lives, and was raised Southern Baptist in Texas, but then also ended up in the Quaker community, and then at All Souls, finding that she needed more of a community and the activity of life that we have here at All Souls. But she's said that sort of her journey is like following that light, that beacon in the dark, and that she trusts that journey, and it has brought her here. We're so grateful for that. And Ham, who was raised Catholic, was a former English teacher, and poetry really speaks to him, and some Unitarian Universalists like Emerson. And his journey coming here, we found that he's brought his soulful poetry and that soulfulness with him, and actually has shared that he's really been feeling the wonder of a child as he ages, and we really felt that in our newcomer circle with him, and we're actually grateful for that feeling and all that you bring with you. Thank you. So we're going to ask all of the new members, and first they all signed the book, so let's give them a hand. And so we're going to ask you all to come up back into the center of the chancel and on the steps so that we can see you as we covenant together.
As the new members get into place here in the center, I want to say, first of all, that was so wonderful to hear about all of you. Also, you've heard about covenant from Lynn, and I'll be speaking about that later. And new members, in your newcomer circle, you talked about what covenant meant and kind of thought about that whole thing about how we treasure relationships over ideology. Now you're going to have a chance to actually speak a covenant, the covenant between you, new members, and the friends and members of All Souls. So you'll really you have a chance to begin your journey with this congregation, not only with it, but with its covenant. And at the same time, the congregation has a chance to speak and renew its covenant. So I'd ask the congregation now to rise in body or spirit, as you are able, as we speak the new member covenant, beginning with the congregation. We, the members and friends of All Souls Unitarian Universalist Congregation, welcome your decision to join in this religious community with open hearts and gratitude. New members.
Unitarian values, sense of community, and embrace of an open search have brought me to this place, to this new religious home, aware of the possibilities and responsibilities that membership brings. I covenant to walk together with others in this religious community.
Through our covenant with each other, we make a commitment and promise to journey together to create this beloved community. We hold each other accountable to our UU principles and values, modeling them for each other, our children, and the broader community.
I bring to this congregation my talents and shortcomings, my enthusiasms and my doubts, my wisdom and experience. I bring my whole self. I covenant to learn from you and with you.
We welcome you and covenant to learn from and with you, all of us, together, to this beloved community. Joined by a shared mission, we covenant to create a welcoming, caring, justice-seeking community within and beyond these walls. May the practice of our progressive religious tradition shine as a beacon. May we faithfully engage in this great task together, new and longtime members and friends. May the congregation say amen. Amen. Let's give them a hand. Welcome, new members. You are able to go back to your seats now.
Can I go back to my class?
Yeah. Let's wait for Jesse to get back to us. So each year, we honor the commitment of membership and those who have reached significant milestones. These anniversaries mark a long-term engagement with this faith community for which we are grateful.
Celebrating 10 years of membership, those who joined in 2013. Should we have them stand?
Sure, if they're here.
If you're here. Maureen Gallagher, Tom Lesko, Reverend Mark Roble, and Rosemary Staropoli.
Okay, and those who have been here for 20 years joined in 2003. Maria Barice, Suzanne Colton Carey, Sheila Herbert, Peg Snow Madura, Priscilla Newell, David Sands, Lynn Tavermina, I know she's here, Hans Veltheim, and Heidi Veltheim.
Celebrating 30 years with our community, Radha Richmond Covey, and I bet she's with us online. I bet she is. And Lee Toth.
Now, 50 years is a very special anniversary. You can imagine the changes that you've seen at All Souls if you've been here for 50 years. And today, it's Axel Westerberg, who's been here for 50 years. Now, Axel is off having fun and couldn't be here today, although he usually is here. So we're going to have to celebrate Axel without his presence, but knowing he may be tuning in online, so we'll give a wave in case. Oh, that's right. Oh, right. Actually, I've just been told, so it's from Iceland. He's off having fun in Iceland. Yes. So I guess, you know. So you couldn't quite speak back. Right. Couldn't rush back. But, you know, Axel has been was a past president and has been in leadership roles. And if you know Axel, that fits with his thoughtfulness and calm deliberation about everything. And more recently, you know, Axel has been a part of the Black Lives Matter witness, very dedicated to that witness and here every week for that. And as well, you might not know this, it's sort of the under the radar volunteer job that we're so appreciative of, but Axel comes a couple of times a week and collects the compost that we have at All Souls and takes that away mysteriously, you know, in the night. So we're so grateful for all that Axel does, both in the positions he's been in the forefront and the things he does in the background at All Souls. So thank you, Axel. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, if you can sing out whatever children remain, some of them may have snuck out already, but whatever children are in Unity Hall, if you could sing us out with Trees of the Field, that would be wonderful.
Great. Thank you, Lynn, for all that you do. I've been asked to share 2 readings on covenant, and they were given to me by our wonderful sabbatical minister, Tricia Brennan, and I'm happy to read each of them. The first are the words of Reverend Suzanne Frederick Gray, who's our UUA president. We sometimes wrongly say it is the absence of creed that's most important to who we are, Unitarian Universalists. This is wrong. Any one of us could practice religious freedom at home on Sunday mornings. We could practice religious freedom all day long, every day, and never come into community. It is covenant that brings us out of isolation. Covenant that brings us out of selfish concerns, out of individualism, to join ourselves to something greater. To become a part of a community that is working to practice love. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and wisdom together, to find better ways to live our lives and live in this world.
The second reading is from Quaker teacher Douglas Steer, who offers these thoughts and questions. The ancient question, who am I, inevitably leads to a deeper one, whose am I? Because there is no identity outside of relationship. You cannot be a person by yourself. To ask, whose am I, is to extend the question far beyond the little self-absorbed self and wonder, who needs you? Who loves you? To whom are you accountable? To whom do you answer? Whose life is altered by your choices? With whose life or whose lives is your own all bound up, inextricably, in obvious or invisible ways?
So not long before I was ordained, some almost 25 years ago now, I was out shopping with some girlfriends, and I'm not much of a shopper, so to some degree, this crew had taken me under their sartorial wing. They steered me towards a maroon suit that they thought would look good on me, and they said, you know, you're gonna be a minister. You need a suit. So I bought it. Now, I'm not much of a suit person, but there's one Sunday during the church year when I always wear that suit. It's not Easter, it's not Christmas, it's not Ingathering Sunday, it's not the Sunday of the annual meeting. It's Newcomer Sunday. And I wear that suit on Newcomer Sunday because I think it's a really big deal to join a faith community. People, as we heard, rarely join casually. There's a level of discernment that goes into the decision to join. And there's a certain gravitas or formality to signing the membership book. It's your very own unique handwriting in this typically, and in this case, old book that's been around forever, right there in ink. You're giving your assent to membership to this faith community, and it's going to be in there for ages. So it is a day of rejoicing and celebrating. It's a day of affirmation. It's very affirming to a congregation when people say, I want to be with you. I see what's going on there. I want to be a part of that. It's a day of commitment and welcome. It's a day worthy of a suit. Now, every year I wonder if I'll still fit into that suit. And it can be a close call, but I assure you that under this clerical robe is the maroon suit I was led to buy ages ago, worn at many a new member Sunday in many a UU congregation, and now happily here at Old Souls. Oh, I mean Old Souls. All Souls. Well, along with old books that were signed today and old suits that we hope will still fit, there's an old word that we are lifting up today, and that word is covenant. It's from the Latin convenire, and I don't know, and I think I'm saying that right. I did take Latin, meaning to come together or to go together, as in to walk together, to travel together. Both meanings, coming together and going together, ring true in congregational life. For indeed, All Souls comes together every Sunday for worship and comes together at other times for fellowship, for deliberations, for classes, for parties, for meals, for meetings. You come together whenever you show up for each other outside the walls of the congregation, whenever you show up publicly in the public square to do justice work. Lots of comings together, in person and virtually. You come together and you move together. You evolve. You take risks. There is movement in the congregation. The congregation you are now, I don't think is the same one that you were 10 years ago. And the congregation that you are now, I don't think will be the same one you will be 10 years hence. And in your comings and in your goings, you're moving together, you exist as a covenantal community, bound together not by a common creed to which you aspire to believe, but a common covenant of shared intention to practice love and create a welcoming, caring, justice-seeking community within and beyond these walls. The covenant just spoken by the new members and by the congregation was a little bit different than the one that was said a year ago when last year's crop was welcomed. And that is as it should be. For covenants are not fixed statements, but open to change as our lives and the world change. They ring of the eternal in some way, yet are of the moment too. The covenant that you spoke together felt to me honest, inspiring, sturdy, strong, optimistic, realistic, and intimate. I trust it is meaningful to you as well. By my lights, covenants guide us, help us to be who we aspire to be individually and collectively, and help us to return to our better selves when we mess up. And it's that last part I want to talk about, because we do inevitably mess up, and that's where a covenant can really be helpful. I've got 3 stories that I want to tell around that. The first comes from a congregation I served quite a while ago. They were engaged in a big building project to make their parish hall accessible. It was the desire for accessibility that was driving them. It took the full 2 years I was with them as interim, and it required of them to spend much of their church life out of the building. The congregation had a congregational covenant that they spoke every Sunday, and the hard-working building committee, which oversaw the project, had its own particular covenant to guide its work. That covenant spoke to the value they placed on their relationships as they worked together to achieve their goal of making their building accessible. And well into this project, one of the co-chairs came to me and said, I think we as a committee have fallen out of covenant with each other. And he and I spoke for a while, and then he called a meeting of the whole committee, not to talk about contracts with the builder, not to talk about architectural plans, but to talk about how they were doing with each other. Everybody came. Everybody spoke. Everybody listened. I have no memory of what the contention was about, but what I have never forgotten is how seriously they took their covenant, how these really busy people stopped everything to attend to their relationships, how they understood that their success was not going to be measured only by what they sought to build, but how well they treated each other. How even as they were laying the foundation of a new parish hall, they also believed that their covenant with one another was the ultimate foundation of everything they were trying to do and be. I had a chance to go back about a year and a half ago to serve as their parental leave minister as their minister had her second baby. The building they built is still beautiful, and they are still a vital, caring community that continues to attend to their covenant. The second story comes from here, and Perry has actually already alluded to it. Last week, he and I were talking about covenant in preparation for today, and Perry shared the comment that Sharon Mack made. Is Sharon here? Shannon, hi Shannon. That Shannon made, and that made an impression on him, and it did to me as well. And with Sharon's permission, I share it. Well, Perry's already shared it, but I'll share it a little bit more. So Shannon is a faith formation teacher, yay, and she had noticed that the kids in the class had shifted from talking about rules and their consequences for breaking rules to talking about their agreement, their covenant, if you will, on how they will be with each other. And that's an agreement that they made together. Nobody handed it to them. So that means that anytime a child forgets what they've agreed to, they're simply reminded of that shared agreement. They're called back into covenant. And it's a completely different mindset, isn't it, than obeying or not obeying rules that one may or may not have had a hand in making. You know, I think it's a really simple observation that you made, Shannon, but it speaks volumes to me about the power of covenant to move us into more healthy and mature, responsible ways of being. We have to take responsibility for our freedom and the choices we have. It's also a practice, a lifelong practice, and how great it is that children are having an opportunity to live into these ways of being. I'm grateful, Shannon, that you noticed what you noticed and that you shared it with Perry and allowing me to share what you observed. Part of being in covenant is that we help each other grow, we help each other to see things in new ways, see things more deeply. The third and last story or example is about noticing and practice. Now, I have a meditation practice, and I know some of you do too. It was spoken about a moment ago. The meditation sangha that is alive here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It's awesome. There's different forms of meditation, right? And I don't think it's a stretch to say that just about all the forms aim to help us to deepen our awareness of the present moment and also awareness of ourself and life. I also don't think it's a stretch to say that it's not easy to maintain an awareness of the present moment or of ourselves, at least for me. When I meditate, I might have 30 seconds before my mind is off and running, conjuring up plans for later in the day, ruminating about some past regret or injury, or simply daydreaming. At some point, I notice my mind has gone off on a jaunt, and I take a breath, and I return to the present moment. And before too long, my mind is busily engaged once again, and I again breathe and gently return to the present. And that's how it is with me, off and back, off and back. I have come to believe that the most important part of what I do when I meditate is that movement back to center, the noticing that my mind is somewhere and the gentle call back again and again and again and again. For me, there's something about the commitment to return to the breath, to the moment, to the landing once again at center that matters. It's the returning that seems to hold the meaning and the power and the benefit for me. I think the movement of returning to what is valued is much like the movement of returning to the covenant when we see that it has become frayed. Very few people are able to live in a perpetual state of awareness, and none of us lives lives without mistakes. Time and again in our lives, we are graced with the awareness that we have faltered. and seek to move back into covenant, into right relationship, back to the center. Often others help us see our mistakes and help us return. You know the hymn, I think, Come, Come, Whoever You Are? Yeah. You know, if you know it, I'm going to try and sing it, so try and sing it with me, okay? There's just the little part. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. It's such a great song, and I love that line, ours is no caravan of despair. You likely, or you may know that the words of that song were from the Persian poet Rumi. And you may or may not know that there's another line in what Rumi wrote that didn't make it into that song. And that line is, if you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come. I wish that line was still in the song. If you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come. It speaks to me of our common human frailty and of the never-ending possibility of forgiveness and renewal. It speaks to me of the unconditional love of God, of Spirit, that we are never refused, always available. If you've broken your vows 1,000 times, the invitation still stands. Come, yet again, come. You are welcome to return. Dear new members, I trust your membership at All Souls will be a source of much happiness and growth for you and your families. You are now part of shaping this covenanted community. It's coming together and it's going and growing together. You are now part of its caravan, which is no caravan of despair. It is a caravan of hope. You are joining a faith community that attempts to be faithful to its covenant, and it largely does so, and is also, I think, humble enough to know that we humans are fallible. And then, perhaps especially then, the covenant is there, always there, inviting our return. Congratulations, new members. Congratulations, All Souls. Let's be together in a moment of silence.
All right. We're now at the place where we offer what we have to give. And I'd like to acknowledge the gift of 3 members of our congregation who worked on our behalf, assisted us because we participated too, to collect over 500 pounds of stretchable plastic that will be recycled and will ultimately result in our having a brand new earth-friendly bench for our Peace Garden. And those people are Lisa England, Judy Kermsey, and Jonathan Harger, and I'd just like to give a round of applause. Our food offering this month, again, for Food for the People, is pasta. And if you haven't brought your pasta up, please feel free to do that right here. And our Good Neighbor offering this month is for the Southeast Connecticut Sponsoring Committee. Southeastern Connecticut Sponsoring Committee is an interfaith action group of 16 Greater New London church leaders who have joined together toward creating a local interfaith action organization. So right now they're a committee, sponsoring committee, and eventually are building an interfaith action organization. Like the Greater Hartford Interfaith Action Alliance, South SCSC helps congregations respond to the call for justice in the world by providing intensive training and mentorship. Your contribution, together with the contributions of other local congregations, will help the group hire its first leader and begin the next step of bringing the work to all our congregations. And please put the initials GNO on your checks. And thank you for participating. Oh, yes, thank you. Please say with me these words as we prepare for the Good Neighbor offering. We give to the work of the Southeast Connecticut Sponsoring Committee. To be good neighbors, we support work that creates the greater good. With this offering, we remember to extend our reach beyond these walls. Thank you.
For all that you have shared and all that you have sacrificed. Thank you. Our closing hymn is Fire of Commitment. Please rise in body or spirit.
When the fire of commitment sets our
you now, here and online, to extend your arms, indicative of how we hold each other, and also indicative of how we reach out outside these walls into the wider community and are enriched by all we touch. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry those blessings with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. And may you have the courage to share them. Amen. Please be seated as Sue leads the extinguishing of the chalice.
Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. The chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion.
That, folks, was your whimsy moment. Thank you, Bill. Casey Cloud has an announcement. Where'd she go? There you are. Speaking from the hardworking Nominating and Leadership Committee. Thank you for your work.
Good morning. I gotta say, I had no idea how important it would be for me to be over at the listening table today on New Member Sunday. What a wonderful morning it is. My name is Casey. I am part of the Nominating and Leadership Development Committee, And I will be your representative at the listening table today, which happens to be right next to the food. It was supposed to be closer to the piano, I think. But in any case, leaders of the church are here during coffee hour, and we listen to questions and concerns and words of appreciation. Someone from the Nominating and Leadership Committee will be here every third Sunday, and we'd like to listen to what you would like to talk about. We don't talk and you listen, it's the other way around. We'd like to know how you would like to grow in your involvement in the life of our community. So maybe you'd like to help out in some way. This is a great place to explore, and there is no obligation. Thanks. Come and say hi.
Thank you, Casey. Beloved community, that part of the worship service will be back next Sunday. But in that spirit, I want to share that Kyle Murray is in the hospital, and I'll be visiting him this afternoon. And I think he might really love to hear from people. So there's 3 cards over there on the listening table. And if you would just write a note to Kyle, I will transport that when I go see him. Also, if you're new to All Souls and you want to know more about this faith community, stop by the welcome table over there where Lynn is, and Lynn will be happy to greet you and answer your questions. The Black Lives Matters witness that was mentioned earlier will be happening right after worship. Please join this important witness out there if you can. Next Sunday, I'll be preaching. The youth will be talking about Article 2, which is a bylaws change. It is not boring. It is very interesting. New members, welcome once again. Do head to the welcome table where Lynn is, and she's got some new member items for you. Elder Journey is this week, yay, March 23rd. If you're 65 and older, please join. Friday Night Folk is March 24th with Kayla Farnham. To reserve your seat, call the All Souls office or purchase tickets online at Eventbrite. And last but not least, tag sale is coming soon. If you want to volunteer, join the Happy Crew volunteering by letting Susan Beebe know. End of announcements. Thank you for your attention.